down. Hand over my crown. Hand over my heart. I do this for my town. I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, my time. None of you people can tell me to stop.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of MGR Unplugged. David, how are you today?
Great, as always.
Great as always. I like that. We have a few topics today, but actually I want to start with one of our favorite topics that we've discussed maybe 3-4 times over the year, which is Quibi. Guess what? Our prediction became a reality. We said that.
Wasn't much of a prediction. I think most people predicted this.
Anyways, what we're talking about is that Quibi decided to finally shut down and cut their losses, which probably is a bit too late because they lost a lot of money, but they are shutting down. And we said this. I remember the very first time that we criticized Quibi's concept and campaign to at that point, because it wasn't launched yet, was doing the Super Bowl when they had the ads and all that stuff. Then they said, we'll be back in a Quibi, and people didn't know exactly what that was and all that stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, it's been 6 months where they've done nothing but lose money, try to come up with different ideas, different concepts, different creators and celebrities endorsing it or working or participating in it. And then finally, Meg Whitman and Jeffrey Katzenberg, the founder and CEO, decided to just shut it down. So, sad ending.
They'll be fine. Katzenberg and Meg Whitman.
That was a lot. That was $1.7 billion or something. Or
yeah, I think so.
That's a lot of freaking money.
It's a lot of money
For two big wigs in the advertising and corporate world, especially Jeffrey Katzenberg. I mean, he's a big guy. And,
yeah. I mean, he's been around. He's head of Disney. He's head of Disney Studios, head of Paramount.
Wasn't he with part of Pixar too? Or
no, I don't.
I think he was KZG too. But anyways, either way, this venture really failed. They, in their quote, they say that both of them say that it failed, and there were actually, they say, quote unquote, 1 or 2 reasons. And they say, one, the idea of Quibi either wasn't strong enough to justify a standalone streaming service, or that the launch of the service in the middle of the pandemic was bad timing and bad luck. They said that probably it's a combination of the two, and they'll probably never know which one is which. I don't know if either of those is true. I think the pandemic is an excuse that you can use, but unfortunately, there's a lot of other theories that kind of don't work with that, because, I mean, at the same time, Apple TV Plus and HBO Go and Disney, HBO Max and Disney Plus and all those other services are actually doing very well. So on Netflix, obviously was the leader of the pack.
It was a bad idea. Didn't work. And the reason why I saw some people trying to defend and saying, oh, well, it's easy to trash. I agree. I'm not one to trash people for trying companies and failing, especially startups. The reason why Katzenberg is getting so much flack is not because he tried something. I don't care. People can try things. It's for a few reasons. A, they raised a ridiculous amount of money. B, they were incredibly kind of cocky and arrogant. Katzenberg had a lot of quotes. He said things like, I know millennials better than they know themselves. There was a meeting where they were having a strategy meeting early on, and when people were disagreeing with what he was saying about millennials, he told them in the meeting, basically, he told them, I've been doing this longer than you've been alive. So if you're going to raise a bunch of money, and you're going to try to do something big with quite a bit of arrogance, quite frankly, you better win, right? Like, it does take arrogance to say you want to build another multi-billion-dollar streaming service when there's already others out there. It takes arrogance to do any startup ultimately, right? But know that if you're going to act with arrogance, sometimes it's needed, but at the same time, when you fail, you have to understand that people are going to rip on you. And so when you raise $1.7 million and are kind of arrogant in the things you say, you better win, because if you don't, people are going to trash you.
And the other thing is that this is another example of, when past performance does not guarantee future results. I mean, Katzenberg comes with all these credentials, having run DreamWorks, SKG, past Disney, and all that stuff, all these major studios and productions, and obviously he is very successful. And like you said, he launches this new streaming service when it's kind of starting to get a little saturated, with a brand new concept that, frankly, if it's not there, it's probably because it's not useful, and it just didn't work.
I said, the biggest thing to me from day one was, they paid a bunch of money to celebrities that nobody cares about. I don't think traditional celebrities are what draws people anymore. You want internet celebrities, which are YouTubers, TikTokers, Instagram people, right? You want people who are big on those platforms, especially if you're building an internet first company. You should have internet celebrities. The traditional world celebrities, Reese Witherspoon, Kevin Hart, all these people, I don't know if they're really honestly big draws for an app. And I don't think that's what's going to make the difference for an app like Quibi. And quite frankly, the space they were competing in was tough because, Netflix succeeds because they do really high budget, longer form content, right? Quibi was doing shorter form content that was higher budget, but and their whole thing was it's quick bites, it's Quibi. You have everything is like 5 to 10 minutes long. It's like, well, I think honestly, most people who have 5 to 10 minutes, especially because their target was millennials, they're gonna, if you have 5 to 10 minutes to watch something, you're probably gonna watch YouTube or TikTok or something like that. You're probably not gonna go.
I don't even think people, when they have 5-10 minutes, even watch anything. They probably just go to an Instagram or something and swipe through stories.
Yeah, I mean, you can watch stories, you can watch TikTok, you can watch YouTube, whatever. But they're competing in a space that's really difficult to compete in. And ultimately, the entertainment business is a hits business at the end of the day. I mean, it is a hits business. Netflix puts out a ton of crap. And by crap, I mean literal crap.
Yeah, I know.
Right? But, because remember when Quibi launched, at the same time, Tiger King was huge and exploding. And Tiger King is the type of show that it's not the production value was fine, but I'm sure that wasn't a massive budget. It was just like a documentary of some dudes that own tigers,
Yeah.
And that's the type of thing that Quibi, that's an example where Netflix could put out 20 documentaries. They just need one Tiger King. The other 19 nobody hears about. And so Quibi never got their hit. I also think that they went around about the wrong strategy of going with old school celebrities. So there's a lot of reasons they failed. And the reason they're getting trashed is not because they tried something big and failed. It's because they were kind of arrogant with what they were saying going in.
Yeah,
I know millennials better than you do. I'm gonna raise $1.7 billion to. I mean, yeah, okay. You better
like
win
you
if you're
said
gonna
before,
do that
I think
stuff.
you mentioned this before a few times that like you said, YouTube creators, all that stuff. Like celebrities are not. Celebrities have their pool, but the celebrities they chose are not.
Celebrities. This is what people don't understand. Celebrities have a pull in the traditional world. So a celebrity might have a pull if you're gonna launch a new TV show. It will help to have a big name celebrity on it, or a movie helps to have celebrities. Less so now than it used to be, but still it helps, right? But when you're doing internet things, people don't care.
Right.
People don't care.
And
A YouTuber will bring way more people to an internet-based thing than a traditional celebrity will.
Right.
And that's because that's their battlegrounds. You're taking somebody who doesn't work in the internet world and bring him to the internet world and thinking that it's going to work. It doesn't, and that's why every celebrity now is trying to adapt. That's why Will Smith is all in on YouTube. That's why all these, like Matthew McConaughey is doing lots of stuff now. All these traditional celebrities, Kevin Hart, I think, has done it pretty well, but even he, I think, is still, and he had shows on Quibi, and it's like, I think he still is a little too attached to the old school world, right? And so it's really people don't care.
But I think I also, I don't know, millennials, whatever, but I hate this classification of millennials, baby boomers, whatever. There's different trends and stuff, but at the same time, you have a format that is video up to about 10 minutes for a little quick story. but it's video, meaning that you need to be watching it. It's not like a podcast. It's not like something that you listen to on the go or something and you can be doing other stuff. It's a video. So you need to have like 5 minutes or 10 minutes or something where you need to be watching a screen somewhere. I don't know where I find myself in that situation. They say, oh, when people are cooking
can
or
I tell you
something.
something? Can I tell you something? TikTok beat them.
Right. Exactly.
TikTok is video.
Exactly.
And TikTok kicked their
Well,
ass.
that's
And guess
my
what?
point.
TikTok, now they have celebrities because everybody has to is chasing their
Of
tail
course.
trying to get
But
onto
that's
it.
exactly my
But when
point.
TikTok launched or started growing a lot in the US, there were no celebrities on TikTok. Nobody famous on TikTok.
But the thing with TikTok is that stories on the videos are limited to like 10, 15 seconds. I mean, they're
No, it's a minute.
A minute now?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have up to a minute video that.
But
you
there's
can,
plenty of
you
short
can-
ones too. But
Right. But you can swipe. You can basically go to the next, and that's what I'm saying. When you have like a 5-10 minutes to kill because you are in some kind of waiting room, whatever you are, for a few minutes stopped or something, and you don't have enough time to watch a long-term video, a long format video, or a podcast or something, you just go to it could be Instagram stories, Instagram videos, or TikTok or whatever. Just go pump, watch like 10-5 things. It's very addictive, and you get glued to it. The Quibi format, a little mini episode of a series that is like, it just that to me. I don't know what the format is for that. I mean, really, and I think they're gonna have a hard time selling it. They're trying to now. They hired this agency, this firm, to try to find buyers for their IP and their content and everything else, which they don't even own the content either. So it's gonna be hard to sell any of their intellectual property, basically. So I don't know really what the outcome is going to be of this. We'll be following it, but it's just 6 months. I mean, that's all it took, So is Quibi another victim of COVID, or
no,
it would have
Quibi
died
would have failed
anyways?
without COVID. In fact, COVID might have helped them because people had nothing to do, and so they were open to downloading
that's
a
exactly
new
the
app.
point. That when they came out, it was almost like perfect timing. We're saying people are confined. Netflix
To me,
went through
honestly, the
roof.
biggest thing is just, $1.7 billion. We could do a lot with $1.7 billion. You could do much cooler startups than another streaming service. The world has enough streaming services.
Right.
I think, anyways, they failed. It's fine. Whatever. I don't think anybody is shocked by this. Obviously, it's easy to rag on people. And again, I don't normally rag on companies.
Well,
the
no,
only
but in
reason
this
I
case-
would rag
but-
on them is, like I said, because if you're gonna go in with a lot of arrogance, you better win. It's that simple.
But honestly, as much as we've been criticizing Quibi, on people that follow the podcast know that we've done it like 3 or 4 times already. I actually didn't think they're gonna die or expire in 6 months. I thought they were gonna try to continue giving it
I think they
tries
cut
for
their
about
losses.
12 months, but they cut their losses. Yeah, they even decided not to spend additional money because they saw that it was a dead end. So they probably said, "Listen, we're not going to spend all the money that we have."
They got $150 million in ad revenue deals from all these companies, but I think it was based on 1 or 2 year terms. So they're gonna have to refund a lot of that money now.
And what about the subscriptions?
I have no idea what their subscription numbers
They
were.
had 2 types of subscriptions, the $5 and $10 or something, with or without ads and all that. So obviously that's a month to month, so people that subscribe will just finish. But yeah, basically they are done, and Quibi is over. So on the other side, Snap, parent company of Snapchat, is doing actually better than expected. David?
What have I been saying? Snapchat is the most underrated of all the consumer tech companies out there. And they're finally kind of seeing their day. And I still think that they're going to grow a lot more from here. But like I said, when we were having the AR discussion,
Right.
was that last week?
That was last week, yes.
I said that if any company besides Apple were to build AR glasses, I think Snapchat's the one to do it. Because they have, the thing with Snap is that someone said it actually really well. They're the last of the rebels. All the big tech companies have kind of become very corporate. Not to say that Snap hasn't become more corporate. Obviously, they're a large public company now, so they have to an extent. But they're still very much the rebel in the space. They're still zagging when everybody else is zigging. They're not put in the same group as the Facebooks and Amazons and all these in Googles and all these bigger tech companies, right? People don't really associate with them. Obviously, they're much smaller as far as revenue and market
Right.
cap. But, they're making money. They're profitable, cash flow positive, so they don't need to raise more money to stay alive, and they keep innovating. And I think Snap is a company that if you're going to own shares in them, this is not investment advice. This is a company that you own for the long term. This isn't a company that I think is going to just become, a 50 billion revenue company like a Facebook overnight, but they make what was their revenue numbers? I forget. But they're in the billions of revenue now.
Yeah,
They're profitable. They're cash flow
speaking
positive.
of, you were talking about investment advice. I mean, their stock just went up. Obviously, we'll see what happens when anything settles. But from their earnings call, it went up almost 30%. I mean, it was in the low 20s now. Today it's like a 38 or so. So that's a huge jump.
Yeah, and they're still
But I think
growing.
they're also benefiting from the fact that there's been a lot of noise and all these big other companies that the Facebooks and Googles and YouTubes and so forth were going to Congress with the antitrust, anti-monopoly, and Facebook was notorious from copying basically everything that Snap was doing that was successful. They were using them as a Trojan horse to see if it works when they copied it.
With all the thing that Facebook has taken from Snap, obviously stories being the biggest, but a lot of other things, the filters, the lenses, all those things. What Facebook has not been able to replicate, even with the acquisition of WhatsApp, is there's still way more users of Snapchat as a messaging service than there are on Facebook. Facebook DMs or Messenger, Instagram DMs, WhatsApp in the United States pales in comparison to Snapchat. So Snapchat still has them beat on messaging despite, how much money has Facebook spent trying to grow Messenger, Facebook Messenger. Now they're building this consortium thing that's going to combine Facebook Messenger, Instagram DMs, and WhatsApp into one. We'll see. But they still haven't beaten Snapchat on messaging. And that's where Snapchat wins.
That's one thing that is difficult to beat because it's more of a user preference type thing.
The problem with messaging, though, if I was to give a counter argument. For Snapchat.
Okay.
The problem with messaging is, and this is something that Ben Thompson from Stratechery has written a lot about, and he said the problem with messaging is it is really hard to monetize. How do you make money from messaging? Because you can't read people's messages and sell their data, right? That's a no-no. Okay, so you can't do that. Are you going to put ads in the messaging platform somehow? No, because people will hate that. Are you going to make them pay for it? Well, no, because there's so many free options. So messaging is hard to make money from.
But it's a good anchor.
It is a great anchor.
Right.
So the thing that Snapchat is trying to do is they're not going to ever monetize messaging. Messaging is there, and that's their core, and that's why they have hundreds of millions of users who use the messaging. Where they're trying to monetize is on the stories, on the Snap Originals, all these things. I think the Snap Originals and the other content that they have it's not great. I think that it's not gonna be what makes Snapchat win. I think what makes Snapchat win is the longer term. And I think if I had to bet where Snapchat is focusing most of their resources for the long term, it is on AR. Because I think Snapchat has been ahead of the game on AR for years and years now. And that if I were to guess, within 2 or 3 years, they will have a pair of glasses that they launch that are built in, and they may even have their own Snap OS for those glasses, and that's how they win. Because if they can build a Snap App Store, like think about how valuable the App Store is on the iPhone. Well, the same thing when AR glasses become popular. Owning the App Store for that will be massive.
Right.
That's how Snapchat wins. Again, this is all speculation, but if I were to guess where they're going, that's where they're going.
But
that's the long term.
It just seems to me that, when you backtrack to maybe a year or two ago, or even 3, when Snap started kind of like Snapchat, basically, when it went public, and then people were hesitating, and then Facebook kept just copying other features and all that stuff. Now we're a little bit more like Facebook can only do so much. I mean, they even copy Reels from TikTok, and it's not being that successful. So Facebook is becoming now super complicated, convoluted. I mean, it's just the Facebook platform is oversaturated with features that people don't even understand anymore. And then you have Instagram on the other side that it has the stories and the Reels and this, and it's just becoming equally complicated now, which is part of Facebook as well, plus WhatsApp. So now I think that those kind of intermingled paths are starting to separate again, where Snapchat has its own features and it's growing a little more independently of everybody copying it. And the active users now is 250 million, which is year over year is basically almost 20% increase. So that means that they're not stuck on a certain demographic or anything, that people are still being added, so that's the main thing that investors like to see, that the active users are increasing. But the other thing I was going to ask you is, we were talking about also, obviously monetizing the platform is how these people make money. But in addition to the AR glasses, when we discuss social commerce, for example, for other platforms like Facebook is getting into Facebook Shops, and Google has a little bit of an application there too, and obviously you have Shopify trying to fight with Facebook. Where do you see Snapchat going into the e-commerce arena?
They'll be part of it. I think their ad products are already pretty good. And I think they will expand that. I think they will at some point add in shopping built into Snap in the same way that Facebook is doing Facebook Shops. I think we'll have Snap Shops or whatever they call it. The thing that Snapchat hasn't done much of that they could is live streaming. They don't. That's not Snap. Snap doesn't do live streaming. They could though. And I think if they were to add a live product, I think it could work.
Why do you think they don't have that?
Because they are not Facebook. I think Evan Spiegel, the CEO, is one of the best product people alive right now, and he doesn't get the credit. And maybe that's because Snapchat has had some hard times, but I think that he is one of the best product people out there, best product CEOs, and will continue to be. And Snap has a strong focus on what they do really well. And what they do really well is messaging, and what they do really well still is stories. Even though I know Instagram copied them, they still have a strong story space. And then on top of that, what they do really well is the AR features. So they focus what they do. They focus on what they do really well, and they're continuing to improve upon what they do really well. Will they expand? I think they will do live streaming eventually. Because I think that is a good monetization route, especially if you do the commerce. But yeah, I think the commerce, I think their ad products are getting better every day. They keep adding more and more ad products that seem to work really well for advertisers, especially as Facebook gets more and more expensive. People are looking for other avenues. And so I think Snap would be a good option for that. But yeah, I think AR and commerce are the future of the monetization.
Do you see
for Snapchat.
A situation where like Shopify or any of these e-commerce platforms will partner with Snapchat to sync up their platform?
I'm sure Shopify would be happy to. I mean, Shopify partners with everybody these days. You know, they even partner with Walmart. So yeah, I'm sure they'd be happy to.
Because I mean, that's what's making Shopify and all the other e-commerce platforms fight Amazon so wisely these days. Amazon is its own standalone universe, and they still dominate e-commerce. But when you see Shopify, like you said, partnered with Walmart, partnered with Facebook for shops, and now they start getting Snapchat. Basically, they are dominating social commerce more than Amazon. So that I think could be a great actually addition to people that go the Shopify route.
And that's the argument pro Facebook that I've had for a long time, is that Facebook has a lot of ways to make money, not just ads. And that they're going to always, the thing that Facebook has always been very good at compared to most consumer tech companies is they know how to make money. Lots of companies know how to get lots of users, but then turning on revenue channels is very hard without losing those users, right? Facebook has done that better than probably anybody in social, and that's why they're soon to be $1 trillion company.
The other piece of data that I'm looking with Snap is that the growth by region of the world, basically. So in North America, they have about, as of Q3 that just ended, of 2020, they have 90 million users. Year over year, that's 7% growth. In Europe, they have 72 million users, which is about 10% year over year. And the rest of the world is 87 million users, which is a 43% growth year over year, which means that it's growing a lot elsewhere, outside of the US and Europe. One of the, even though they didn't disclose the breakdown of the rest of the world, one of the suspicions is that because TikTok was banned in a number of countries, including India, that a lot of people in India are jumping onto Snapchat now, and that's helping their growth.
Well, you know where they're
elsewhere.
actually big? They're actually pretty big in the Middle East. Snapchat is. And I think they're growing in North Africa too. So that could be as those, especially North Africa, as the economy develops in North Africa, I think that they will have a large growth opportunity there. Not to mention every other social company will probably go there too. But yeah, I mean, I think we're very U.S. focused. Being in the U.S., but yeah, we forget that there's billions of people in the world, so there's
Right.
lots of users to be had.
So they have a lot of room to growth too, and I think that's what investors like because they, even though North America is basically a third of the users, the revenue per user, that's the other metric that advertisers look into, or investors more than advertisers, is pretty high. I mean, the revenue per user in North America is $5.5 basically. Whereas in the rest of the world,
Per month.
what's that?
Oh, for Snap.
For Snap.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Okay.
So for Snapchat, the revenue per
Now
user.
that's still very low. Because if you want to compare Facebook,
Oh yeah, I know. Obviously,
is,
compared to
I think $27
yes,
dollars per
oh yeah,
user.
compared to the other major platforms, but Facebook also has 1.2 billion now or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But in the U.S., I think it's $27 per user, something.
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
they have a lot of room for growth. I mean, so in North America it's $5.50 now per user, and that is a 61% growth over the quarter. But to give you an analogy or comparison, the rest of the world is only 0.95. So that's what I think there's going to be a lot of growth. I mean, the potential for growth there is huge. If the U.S. continues to grow, so they go from 5 to, let's say, 8, 9, 10.
Well, one of the reasons I mentioned the MENA region, Middle East, North Africa, is because there is another startup. I forget the name of it. That's based out of there. I can't remember the name of it. That is another social platform, and they have some unique things that I haven't seen in American platforms. But their average revenue per user was staggering for that region. It was something like $9 per user in Middle East, North Africa, right, where the average basically income is much lower.
It is lower.
So to have $9 per user was massive, and that's where I think Snapchat could have a lot of growth. Because if you look at the growth, obviously I think Snap still wants to and definitely can and should grow a lot more than the U.S. and North America and Europe, but in that region, which is so underdeveloped as far as internet companies go in that region in Middle East, North Africa, where there's probably, I don't know the exact population, depends how you break it out, but there's probably 1 billion people there. That is a massive growth region that all of the companies are now looking at. And they actually, because their economies are developing so quickly, have a lot of money too. So yeah, I think I'm very bullish on Snap. I think they'll keep going.
But this is one thing that I kind of wonder how it's going to go in the future. Like North America, we just said North America has 90 million daily users, active users, and Europe has 72. So let's say that they are kind of almost even, However, the average revenue per user in North America is $5.5, as we said, whereas in Europe is 1.43. So with about similar number of users, the revenue per user in North America is basically 3.5 times what they. Is that because the American consumer is more used to the platform, or this kind of consumption via?
No, it's just the U.S. consumer is worth more.
Okay.
U.S. consumers have more money to spend, therefore advertisers will pay higher CPMs, and that's how these platforms make their money. So the U.S. will always be, at least for the next 30 years, Facebook or the U.S. will always be the highest average revenue per user. Yes,
but the revenue per user is estimated based on the average money that the user spends on the platform, basically.
No, it's based on how much money they make per user.
Right. How much money they make per user based on what is the make part. How much money the user...
No, how much they get in ad revenue per user.
Exactly.
Basically.
So it's ad revenue per user, exactly. So
unless they add other options. But for now, when you look at average revenue per user, most of the time it's ad revenue per user.
Exactly.
Basically.
So that's my point, that the ad revenue per user is much higher in the US.
Right. Because Americans have more money to spend.
American companies, advertisers.
American consumers have more money to spend. Therefore, American companies can spend more advertising.
They
to
bid
them.
higher to advertise to
Exactly.
American consumers. Okay, that's
Exactly.
that's what I wanted to clarify. There is not how many, because when you read revenue per user, you say, oh well, we have 70 million users, and then each of them is buying an average of $5 worth of product or whatever we're advertising.
No. It's based on
So
how much
it's not
ads.
that. Exactly. It's how much the company is making from ad
How
revenue.
much? If you use Snapchat, how much money in ads can I make by serving ads to you?
Right, which basically means that you can advertise on Snapchat or with Snapchat in Europe and basically pay a third of what you would pay in the US for the same ad, basically. As far
Right, but also the consumer in Europe does not have as much
understood.
money
That's
as
the reason
American
why. Yeah, they're both
consumers.
related, but that's the point.
That's
that
why I
have.
was saying that the fact that this one startup had $9 per user in MENA, when Facebook I think has $2.70, I think, or $3 or something like that in the same region, is insane. And so they've clearly unlocked something, and that Snap I think has an opportunity to do the same.
Okay, all right. We'll see what happens. I mean, do you think that this quarter is an outlier or is more of a trend?
No, it's been a trend. They keep growing. Their revenues keep growing. Their monetization is getting better. Yeah, no, I think it's going to keep going.
Okay, so my final question on this or comment: when you see the active users increasing, like they increase 18% year over year, is the active user dropping another platform and joining Snapchat, or is adding Snapchat to Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever they have? At one point, the social media spectrum becomes too saturated that people are just not able to do
Well,
anything.
I mean, where is it coming from?
I mean, I don't use Snapchat, so I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, people only have so much time in the day. So
Right.
obviously, if the average person, let's say, has an average of whatever, 6, it's probably more now because like if the average person maybe has like 6 hours of leisure time a day. Now, obviously, there's time when they're working or whatever that they also use social media for
I mean,
small
the phone
amounts.
gives you the screen time every
Right.
week.
So the average person has maybe, let's say, 6 hours of leisure a day. They can do that watching Netflix, watching regular TV, sports, whatever, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat,
Right,
whatever.
right.
Right. So
Not Quibi anymore, unfortunately.
yeah, not Quibi anymore, unfortunately. But yeah,
That will
so
free up some time.
people have 6 hours in the day, let's say on average, to consume these things. And these companies are all fighting for a share of that 6 hours. So yes, if Snapchat is growing, because the other thing that Snapchat was growing a lot before, I'm not familiar with what their numbers are now, was not just the daily users, but the minutes used per day. And that their minutes used per day was growing a lot.
I'm sure they'll have that data here.
And I think Instagram is a platform that has seen their minutes used per
The
day
stickiness type.
flatten. So before Instagram was growing, they started like they were 15, then 20, then 25, and then 30 minutes a day. And I think now they're somewhere in the 35-ish range minutes per day on average per user.
Okay. Well, that's quite a bit.
Yeah, but it's plateaued. Like they thought maybe they could get up to like an hour a day, and it doesn't look like that's going to happen unless they make some product changes. But it's plateaued. TikTok has a massive amount. I don't know their number off the top of my head, but I remember it was staggeringly high compared to most platforms. So yeah, there's obviously the users per day, but then also how much time are they spending on the platform? Because the more time they spend on the platform, the more ads you can serve them.
Right. All right, so let's move on from Snapchat. I mean, I think, yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm not a user. I know a lot of people that use it, but I mean, to me, it's like time in the day. I mean, I'm trying to reduce my social media consumption quite a bit, actually.
Right. No, I agree. Me too. But the thing I'll say about Snapchat is, it doesn't give me the same feeling of almost a little bit anxiety that other platforms do. Because it's mostly the only thing I use Snapchat for is messaging. I'll be honest. I don't use Snap Stories at all, and
You use it for what?
messaging.
Oh, messaging.
That's
okay.
it. And I think majority of users, the primary use case is just the messaging.
Really? Okay.
But I don't get the same anxiety using
So
Snap as I do other.
messaging is when you obviously send a message with a picture and all that stuff.
It could be picture or text.
and
Doesn't
then
matter.
and text, and that's the one that disappears as
Yeah.
soon as you open it or after you open it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, interesting.
The advantage of that is it's much more if you look at it from a human psychology standpoint, it's much more casual, right? Like the thing that with iMessage or any text message that's kind of strange is that you have this record of all your conversations, right? Unless you delete them, you know, I can go back, and I've done it with like friends and stuff, where I can go back years.
No, yeah.
And
I
see
mean,
text from
WhatsApp is the same thing.
right. Any messaging platform, right, for years, and that's weird, right? Because a lot of times texting is very casual, and I can't go into a memory bank in my head and remember word for word an exact conversation I had with a friend 3 years ago, but you can with texting.
Yeah,
right?
no,
And so
I do that.
So
That's why my messaging platform
I think
is
Snapchat's
WhatsApp.
messaging very much mimics real life talking.
Yeah.
Right, where you send pictures or text, but it just disappears unless you save it. Right, unless you specifically save it.
Take a screenshot or something.
And so that's where I actually think why a lot of people like it is it's probably the closest text-based messaging that we have to real life talking, basically.
So you don't post like you do with Instagram for a bunch of people. When you send a message with Snapchat, is it a person or is it like a post that people see? Or
No. You have
I'm just-
messaging, you have group chats.
Okay.
It's like it's basically very similar to Messenger in terms or iMessage.
You can have a group or WhatsApp or whatever. You have a
you
group.
have,
and
you have group
send it.
chat, you have
Yeah.
one-to-one, but you send pictures, but everything everything does disappear as soon as you open it unless
Right.
you save it. But you have stories too, but I personally don't use Snap Stories at all.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, it's funny because WhatsApp, I do have most of my conversations or texts are, if they are local, it's usually iMessage. But if they're international, WhatsApp is the platform. And but it's true, I have conversations that go back forever. I mean,
Right.
and sometimes I'm looking for pictures that I received maybe last year, and you just swipe all the pictures and they're still there. I mean, you have an option to save them on your phone, which I don't use, but you still have it in the messaging platform. So, all right. So I wanted to move on to Tesla, who also the company also reported fifth quarter in a row of revenues, which is I think is pretty-
Profits.
of profits, sorry,
revenues.
not revenues, obviously. Profits, profitable quarters, the fifth quarter in a row, and I think that's actually, I think it's pretty remarkable in this, in any economy, but especially now for Tesla to be finally catching up on a steady basis as far as the production numbers, revenues, and profits, and they had the stock split probably about 2 months ago now. The stock is now about 400 something, I think. I'm just going from memory, but I think it was a 4-to-1 split or something that they did.
I don't
forget.
remember.
But they were basically they thought that was going to be maybe detrimental or whatever, but it wasn't. I mean, obviously Tesla, the revenues are there and they're doing very well. So and when you look at all this other noise that is being around with the Nikola and all these other companies that are coming with and major manufacturers too with electric vehicles and all that stuff, and even government rulings as for like California just passed the mandate to basically stop production of combustion engines by 2035 or anything. So obviously that tells you that all the vehicle manufacturers are shifting towards the electric platform or any other alternative fuel, and Tesla is still there. I mean, it's basically leading by example, I think. Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't think this is surprising to anybody who actually understood the business.
Well, but my question, I'm not saying that it's surprising, but Tesla is obviously it's an auto manufacturer, but it's a technology company, really. So when you look at Tesla revenues and profits, especially for the quarter, is it mostly because of all the other things that they're doing, like the gigafactories and the other factories in Austin now and different locations, or the autonomous vehicle IP technology that they have, or is it actually the manufacturing of vehicles? Because I mean, the Cybertruck is supposed to come out.
I mean, it's hard to scale manufacturing. And especially when you're manufacturing something that's never been manufactured before, and you have to build all the assembly lines. You have to it's not just the building of the manufacturing facilities, it's designing them. And how many times has Tesla redesigned, right? Remember in the beginning, they wanted to have robots doing almost everything, and now they actually have way fewer robots than they did before, and more manual labor. It's hard. It's really hard to scale production, and that's what the growing pains they were going through. Was that last year or the year before when they were when basically Elon said, you know, if we didn't get this done right, we would have been out of business. You know, and that was the hard part. But now they've gone through that agony and come out on the other side. And the biggest advantage they have over all the other manufacturers is all the other manufacturers now have to go through that same agony.
Well,
they
you
haven't done it
remember
yet.
when they announced the Model 3, that people were paying $1,000 deposit or something.
Yeah.
That was famously delayed several times to the point that people were kind of asking for refunds and all that stuff. But then eventually, you know, Model 3 came out.
Yeah, but
and
guess
it's-
what? You know what? The Model 3 is the best-selling luxury sedan in the country.
It is. It is basically doing well now.
And I think it's the 5th best-selling sedan overall. The only ones that sell it are Toyota, Honda, and a couple others, but that's it. I mean, they're the 5th best. I think it's the 5th best-selling car in the country for sedans.
Yeah, no, I mean, they're definitely doing well. But
And they outsell Mercedes and Audi and all these other companies and BMW. It's pretty remarkable.
yeah, as far as the European or
And they
the
do it
import.
without advertising. How much money does BMW and Mercedes spend on
Oh
advertising?
yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
Well, they're spending definitely a lot. But so the so what do you think? Elon announced twice, I think, the reduction in price for the Model S, which is their marquee model.
'Cause that's the goal. He said it from day one. He wants to make cars for
Yes,
the masses.
but don't you think that you're diluting? First of all, if I buy a Model S for like 80 grand,
Well,
now
he's
it's-
making a new one too. The new car, remember?
yeah.
It's going to be a Model S that's super upgraded, right? And you can buy that one if you want it. But yeah, I mean, he said from the beginning the goal is to make the cars. He wants to make electric cars cost no more than a gasoline car. And if he does that, he wins. Because why would anyone ever buy a gasoline car if it costs the same as an electric car?
I mean, that was the case when you buy back in the days diesel because fuel is more economic.
I mean, first of all, the Tesla cars are incredible.
Oh, yeah,
right?
no
Everybody
question about
loves
that.
their Teslas. I've never heard somebody buy a Tesla and be like, "Oh, it's a piece of shit." Second of all, you don't pay gas, so that's a big one. Obviously, if you care about the environment, it's a better option, right? I mean, if he can get the price, if he can get the Model 3 to be the same price as a Toyota Camry, he's won, and that's the game. That's his goal.
Yeah,
It's over.
I mean, at this point, we do know that what makes the electric car more expensive than the average combustion engine car is basically the battery cost.
And
Everything-
other things.
Other things maybe too. That's the technology that he has in the Tesla case. But for the most part, the batteries are the ones that when battery prices come down, then the cost will decrease, and that's the market that keeps the cost of the lithium-ion batteries and all that stuff, which has been coming down quite a bit actually lately, but still is pretty high, which is the biggest cost for an electric car. Tires are tires, I mean, you can put all the technology and those are things that are what they are for all the cars, but the battery technology is the one that is more expensive. So, but I mean, aside from that, I think Tesla is definitely the leader right now. And when people were saying, including myself, by the way, oh, just wait until all the auto manufacturers come with their own models. Like, I mean, Porsche has the Taycan. I mean, in terms of upscale models, there's a lot of companies that are coming with their own top of the line and average consumer models. But it's not that easy. I mean, Tesla keeps just chugging along and creating their own technology. So, and then they're very close to, obviously legislation needs to be passed, but they're very close to fully autonomous cars. And I think
What's very close?
Well, I actually think that in a certain environment or close testing track, they are very...
Yeah, okay, yeah, in a close track, that's easy.
Well,
Who cares?
No.
Talks about real world.
No.
Waymo can do a closed track, no problem. Put their car in the real world, they can't do shit.
No, I mean, I'm talking about testing in a simulation of real world with highway traffic, kids crossing the street, balls running across the street, things like that. Like they do those tests. They're just not able to do them in a real situation because it's not legal. The governments do not approve that. But Elon has said different times that they will be ready when technology is ready, when the legislation is ready. But unfortunately, I think...
As far as 100% autonomous, You can fall asleep in the car and you're fine. No.
Well, that's level 5.
Yeah, level 5 is still another 5 years away.
Even for Tesla.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't
Now,
know.
you can have it where you can use the car and, for the most part, it's autopilot, but occasionally you have to engage, right? That, yeah, we're already there. Especially it depends on the circumstances. On highways, that already exists. But like fully, where you can, level 5 is basically you don't need a person in the car. Right, that's level 5. Level 5 is
you don't need a driver.
Level
Correct.
5 is like the goal, especially on the
The car picks you up, takes you off. Yeah.
on the business side of like we can have semi trucks with no drivers, right? That no, we're still at least 5 years away. It's a much harder
But do you think is that because of the technology or is it
because
because of
technology.
legislation?
I'm not talking about legislation. Legislation, I have no control over. Elon has no control. I'm talking technology. 5 years probably. Yeah.
Well, that's not that much.
No, it's not that much. I just think people, the driving problem was harder than people thought in 2015, 5 years ago, when they said basically, because in 2015, I think most people thought by 2020 we would have it. It's just harder than people thought.
Mm-hmm.
There's too many edge cases, too many, driving is harder than people think. I think we take for granted how hard driving is because there's a lot of human intuition that we have that we don't realize how hard it is when you're trying to program a computer to have that intuition. Computers don't have intuition.
No, but
They don't have instinct.
No, I know, but obviously at some point there's gonna be a situation where you have autonomous cars, level 4, level 5, and human-driven cars. And I think that is the problem. If you have a situation in a city in where it's just only autonomous cars,
Sure, but that's never going to happen.
well,
so the goal
could,
is
you could. I mean, there's you could have places where you say, okay, only autonomous vehicles are allowed this or are allowed in these sections.
But
or
that
whatever.
is going to take, basically, first of all, you'd have to spend a ridiculous amount on infrastructure to make that happen. Okay, to have separate freeways for autonomous vehicles, or I mean, what are you talking
What about separate lanes in the freeways like we do now with
Yeah, but
HOVs
that's
and-
gonna kill traffic. First of all, if you're gonna have 2 lanes that are dedicated to autonomous vehicles,
Well, you have we'll have now lanes that are just for HOV for vehicles with
Yeah,
multiple
but-
passengers.
no, you don't need that. Just make the cars drivable with people. That's the goal, and we can do that.
Yeah, but
Trust
I
me.
think that's
You
that's
know
what
how
I'm
long it
saying.
takes
That you're
for-
talking about how difficult it is to drive a car. The difficulty of driving a car is the human reaction to other humans' reactions. Like if I'm on the freeway,
No, it's
I'm
not just
constantly
that.
trying to predict where all these cars around me
Yeah.
are going to do or not signal or this or that or their reactions looking
Yeah,
at
and
their
it's
phone,
not just
whatever.
that though. There could be construction, there could be cones, there could be
Yeah.
sometimes. Like I'll give you an example. The reason why Waymo has completely failed is because of the way they went about it. Right? They went about it very procedurally, as far as rules-based learning, basically saying, stay in the lane, make sure you do this, right? All, like rules-based instead of that's not how humans learn. Humans are not rules-based. Humans are experience-based. You drive and you learn, and then you get better, right? And they were trying to make it so that basically they were learning by specific rules. But here's an example, right? So this happens in Europe all the time. In Europe, people park on the side of the roads constantly, right? And a lot of times there's not enough space, so you got to kind of cross over the lane marker a little bit so that you don't smack these cars, and that's okay. And you're like, all right, fine, and then you go back. The Waymo car would not do that. It would just stop. It would say, there's a car here, but I can't go over the lane.
Right.
I'm
No,
just
I
going to get
understand
stopped, and then you get rear-ended, right? So that was the problem. What Tesla and some other startups like Comma AI done, they basically train based on humans. So Tesla cars have cameras in them.
Right,
okay?
there is a lidar
And they
versus
have
the camera. I
Millions
understand.
and millions of miles of humans driving.
Right.
And they train the machine to learn based off of the human driving. And
Well,
that's why Tesla's going to win.
I understand, and they both have pros and cons. Obviously, the cameras have some challenges on the lidar system. That
Yeah,
you
the
were
lidar's never going to happen.
Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, it could be an add-on to the. I mean, I think if you have a camera system with some lidar features, it may.
No, you
help.
don't need it.
in some cases.
No,
But either
cameras
way,
plus mapping is all you
either
need.
way, I don't want to make
Do you
this.
have LiDAR on your head when you're driving? Do you have LiDAR?
Well, as far as in a way, I mean, as far as you're estimating distances.
Yeah,
for
you can do that with a
braking.
camera.
Yes, you can do it with the camera, but you mentally have a lidar when you're driving, where you estimate the speed of the guy ahead of you. If you have to brake hard, if you're gonna have enough space, the typical 3-second rule and all that stuff. So,
You don't have LiDAR,
but
you have a camera.
well,
You have two cameras.
You have both. You basically yes.
No, you don't.
Okay. Either way, I don't want to make this a discussion on that. What I'm discussing is or trying to clarify is there ever going to be a way or a situation where we have human-driven cars and autonomous cars?
Yeah, that's the goal.
Because are they going to be sharing the same road and
Yeah.
all that stuff? Because all the stuff that you were saying,
Yeah. Yes.
still makes. I mean, I've been in situations
You
where
know what would take a lot longer than 5 years to do? Redoing the entire global road infrastructure. That would
Well,
take a
of
lot
course.
longer
That's part
and
of
a
the-
lot more
that's
money.
part of the issue.
So we're just gonna make the cars drive with people, and that's the answer. If we said, okay, to make self-driving cars work, we have to redo the United States entire roads infrastructure. That's crazy. We're not doing that. That would cost way more money.
I know.
And take decades. No, just make them drive with people. That's the answer.
So right now, locally in the Interstate I-10, that is the major one going through Phoenix, east-west, and traffic is a mess, rush hour, whatever, like every other major highway. People have cars, and when you travel, you can put cruise control, and the speed is controlled. You can have semi-autonomous vehicles, and they drive and other stuff. But you see a situation where in 5 years, you basically are behind the wheel, but you program your car and it takes you to work, and you are surrounded by cars that are, like human driven, not autonomous, and then everything is fine. Because I mean, the problem that I see is that what I said before, that if I'm driving, if I'm inside a car, a Tesla, fully autonomous, let's say level 4, and then I have all these other cars around me, when cars are cutting me off or doing any kind of abrupt maneuver, the Tesla is always going to back off. Because
I mean, the Tesla's gonna know. The Tesla, Papa, the Tesla and other systems are going to be designed based off of human driving. That's how they learn.
Yes, but they're not going to learn the aggressive driving. You know it very well. You get in a lane and you want to exit, and you're trying to get to the exit ramp, and the other guy is there and he's not moving, and you accelerate and he accelerates and you brake. And I mean, it's just a lot of situations where humans are kind of
that's why I say it's
bugging each
going to
other.
take 5 years. That's why it's not here now.
And then
It's harder than people thought. But give it another 5 years of massive data sets being trained, and
so
they'll
the
have
Tesla
it.
is going to become another aggressive driver vehicle.
No,
It's going to learn.
aggressive driver. It's going to be a normal driver.
Okay, I kind of, that's my question. If
You just said you think it's going to be here in a year. I'm saying no, it's going to take another 5.
well,
but yeah,
it
it'll
might
be
take
here.
5, it might take 10, but I just don't know how a vehicle.
Yeah. Okay. So
Can't
somebody cuts a
compensate.
Tesla off, and the Tesla has to brake a little bit. People cut me off, and I have to brake. What's the difference? Happens to normal drivers too, right? No
No.
one's ever cut you off, and you had to kind of brake a little bit.
No, I understand.
Sure.
But
You know, happens.
just to give you, I mean, another example, if somebody's jaywalking and crossing the street in the middle of, in between
Yeah.
traffic lights,
Car will see them.
the car, I mean, if you cross the street, you're hoping that the car, whichever is coming, is seeing you. But if they don't see you,
Oh, I mean,
you get run over.
I think
the Tesla will basically always stop.
for that, I mean, the Tesla's way better because the Tesla's always going to see you.
Well,
Tesla's never
exactly.
distracted.
Exactly.
Okay, if you're not paying attention, you'll hit the kid.
Okay, but that's
Right.
that's my devil's advocate thing. Okay, if I see a swarm of cars that are coming that are all basically autonomous in the future, let's say 80% of the cars are autonomous or self-driving or whatever, and I'm going in the major artery of of town with, traffic and all that stuff, I can jaywalk, and those cars will always stop in the middle of nowhere. Whereas if it's human driven, I'm gonna say,
Yeah, I
shoot,
mean,
need
you
to be
can
careful.
jaywalk with normal people, and they're probably gonna slam on the brakes and honk at you, but you can do it. Now,
If you're hoping that they see you,
just
I mean, that's what
because
people.
just because a car doesn't obey the laws of just because a car's autonomous doesn't mean doesn't obey the laws of physics. Okay, if you just step in front of a fucking Tesla, it still needs time to brake and time to slow down. Okay, it's no different than any other car. So
I'm not saying stepping in front, but I mean, you see a car coming, and you know that.
I mean, you're talking about people being assholes. Okay, fine, but,
right? I mean, they are.
But
people.
but
I-
that's
I
not
just
the
like-
majority of the time.
Well, I understand.
Okay?
That's what I'm saying. That we're not ready for that.
People
just yet.
jaywalk all the time now, knowing that someone might not see them. I mean, okay, you have to deal with that. The goal of the Tesla is to be as good as people and hopefully maybe a little better. Because once it's as good as people, then you don't need people driving the car. If it's as good as a person but it never gets distracted, it's already better than people.
No, I agree. I agree with the technology and everything. I just say that when you mix, it's like mixing two different tribes, so to speak. Okay, one tribe by itself gets along great, the other tribe gets along great, but when you mix them together, they have friction. You know, so when you're mixing the autonomous tribe with the human-driven tribe, and forget about the people walking.
Listen. They are based off of human driving. They drive like humans. They're trained by humans. They look at millions of miles of humans driving, and they learn to drive like humans. They don't drive like robots. That's the point. You're thinking of Waymo cars. Waymo cars drive like robots, and that's why they'll never work. Tesla, in theory, will drive like humans. They already do. I mean, they already have certain levels of it,
so
right?
when which humans? Because a lot of humans, when they get on the freeway, they're pretty reckless driving.
No, not reckless.
Okay,
obviously.
well, that's my only point, you know?
Okay.
I mean,
Let's move on.
no, but I understand. But
5 years.
You even
That's what I said.
come sometimes and say, holy shit, I was coming here, and this guy, I hate this entry because this guy was just going to pull over, no signal,
Yeah,
whatever.
no shit. I mean, obviously, you always have asshole drivers or people who don't know. I'm
Right.
talking
I'm
about
just- I'm just
they're
telling you-
trained off of. Okay.
In every normal commute to work, to or from work, usually people have one or two instances where they feel like another car did something that was unexpected, you know, and they had to back off just to avoid the accident. Of
course.
Whereas if I look behind and I want to get to the right and I have a Tesla or whatever, I'm going to say, you know what, that guy is going to back off because the system is going to say, okay, this guy is not seeing me or whatever is
People
the...
do that now.
Yeah, I know.
People do that now without autonomous.
They do that now, but they kind of, you have a little bit of a give and take and all the stuff to see who's going to
I
give
think
or
you're
whatever.
overestimating these things.
I'm just giving you realistic situations. You know?
Your answer, your the thing always against self-driving cars is, oh, people are going to take advantage. I don't think so. I think people, for the most part, are going to drive normal, and you're going to have edge cases, and that's fine. That's
just
why you
thinking
train the
about-
cars.
I'm-
If your biggest concern is, oh my God, someone's going to cut it off and it's going to have to slow down a bit, that already happens now. How many times do you get cut off? I get cut off all the time.
I never get cut off.
People
I'm
get-
always ahead.
Okay. People get cut off all the time. It happens. I mean, that's driving. That's why you can't have a rules-based system. Okay. You need to, they're trained off of people.
I'm not discussing or opposing what you say. I'm just saying that
Yeah,
I
that's
see.
what I'm saying.
I
It's
see
going to
very-
take another 5 years.
It's going to be very challenging.
I'm not saying it's going to be here
And
tomorrow.
then-
That's why when Elon says, "Oh, it'll be here in 2021," he's kind of full of shit. I mean,
Right.
it'll drive on highways, but no, it's not going to take you
Well,
like
that's
you
exactly
don't need
my-
a person. I'm
that's-
talking you don't need a person in the car. Yeah, it's going to take another 5 years.
Okay, that is exactly my point. What Elon said, he says he's ready by 2021. I'm
Yeah,
thinking,
he's full of
We're
shit.
not
I mean-
ready by 2021.
No, I don't know why he says those
I don't even know
things.
we're going to be ready in 5 years because again, if you say we're going to have like this HOV lane for
No, you don't need
autonomous
that.
cars,
You don't need
perfect. I'll go with that all the time. And I love that stuff. I would love to go
If
somewhere
you,
and say,
if you
hey,
just
Tesla,
had a
pick me up,
separate
pick me up.
lane, we could have self-driving cars today. That's
Right.
easy.
Exactly.
But that's not realistic.
Right.
Like I said,
It's
we're not
not.
going to rebuild the entire infrastructure
Right.
for self-driving
and
cars.
this is not even getting into insurance issues and all that stuff, but we'll leave it there. All right, final topic for today is crypto. I wanted to go over, you and I had a pretty intense conversation a couple of days ago about crypto and all that
quick.
stuff. Huh?
I said, let's make this quick.
Why? Are you in a hurry?
No, it's just we've already had a long discussion. I want to have another long discussion about
No,
crypto.
it has to be a long discussion. I mean, basically, I'm talking about crypto and Bitcoin going back to today. I think is actually 13,000 right now, 13,000 like even, which is a significant increase from what it was 2 days ago. It was at 11,000 and change. So one of the reasons why it went up is basically the PayPal agreement that I wanted you to clarify, because you are more of a crypto expert than I am. But well, you are. So why do you think Bitcoin and crypto in general, as an addition to Bitcoin, is increasing so much? It's benefiting so much from the PayPal wallet, if you will.
It was already going up before that. That kind of was coincidental. Maybe it helped it go up even more after it was already going up, but it was already going up before that. So why is it going up? I don't know. I can't predict price movements, but it's because it's valuable. I mean,
I don't think Bitcoin was. I mean, it was going up a little bit, but it was not going up as it was expected. I mean, it was pretty stuck.
No, it was already going up, and then that same morning, it had already gone up 20%, and then that same morning, PayPal said that. So it wasn't because of the PayPal announcement. Now, maybe that helped it go up more, but it was already up like 20% that day.
So you don't think the PayPal announcement
It might have helped, but that wasn't the trigger, no.
Okay, well, let's clarify the PayPal thing. So what is PayPal and Venmo?
Yeah,
in this
PayPal
case?
basically said you can. We're gonna now take Bitcoin, so you can hold Bitcoin in your PayPal account, and you can buy things anywhere that accepts PayPal. You can now pay in Bitcoin, and then if they take dollars, for example, PayPal will convert that Bitcoin into dollars for a fee, obviously.
Okay, so basically PayPal becomes
You
like
can
a
use
wallet.
anywhere that takes PayPal, which is a lot of places.
Right.
Now takes Bitcoin.
So it basically makes PayPal become like a exchange / wallet for crypto, and only for Bitcoin.
It's similar to like a bank, right? When you transfer money to another currency, the bank will do it for a fee, right? It's a similar thing.
Okay, so and that's obviously, I'm assuming, it's internationally for all PayPal payments and everything else.
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, it
so.
has to be. I mean, it's not officially active yet, but that's basically the announcement they made. So I don't know if that was the trigger. I mean, for what I read, that's a major trigger, because every time there's an announcement like this, it means that people trust Bitcoin more, or people that are more on the fence or not so sure, they say, oh, well, if PayPal is taking Bitcoin, that must be like more reliable. You know, that still there's a lot of misinformation about cryptocurrencies and all that stuff. But yeah, the truth is that Bitcoin is up a lot. I mean, 13,000, when you look up at the chart, it was basically 11 just a week ago. So that's quite a bit of change. Now the question is whether this will sustain or not, if it will be a sell-off, which normally they would. Some people will take advantage of this to unload some of the Bitcoins, but at the same time, Ethereum and other cryptocurrencies are also increasing, even though there's no major news out there. Usually when one currency goes up, the other one benefits from being part of the same neighborhood. So any other comments on this?
No, I mean, I just think if I were to say what is a catalyst, I mean, you never know, right? It's the same thing as like, you know, when we joke about like when you see a headline, market up today because of blank. It's like, well, they're just saying that. We don't really know if that's why the market went up or down. The catalyst is in general that because the Bitcoin went up relative to the dollar. And that's because, well, I mean, you know, we've printed trillions of dollars this year. So the value of the dollar is going down. You can't print more Bitcoin. You can print infinite amount of dollars. So not to mention that.
Well, but wouldn't you think that if that was the case, it would have gone up months ago?
Well, it has been
Because
going
we've been
up.
printing.
But these things don't happen instantly.
But
right?
they don't go up 20% or a huge amount like it's gone now in the last couple of days.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, like I said, I can't predict price movements. Nobody can. You know, it could have been that some large institution bought a lot, and then other people had automated triggers based on certain price points, and then it caused a rally. I mean, I can't tell you exactly why. It's no different than any stock. I can't tell you why all of a sudden Snapchat went up 25% in a day, right? That doesn't necessarily make sense, but it does. It happens. So same thing with Bitcoin. Now, the point is Bitcoin has gotten more valuable. I think the pros with the biggest thing that I've seen on Bitcoin development side is that it looks like Lightning Network is going to work. When before it was kind of up in the air of if Lightning Network would work. And that's a big deal because Lightning Network is what allows much smaller transactions to happen quickly and for low fees. To a quick summary of Lightning Network for people who don't know what that is. Basically, how Bitcoin works is you have a blockchain, right?
No.
It's a chain of blocks, and each block is basically a transaction or set of transactions. But these blocks over time become more expensive to mine, right? Mining isn't physical mining; it's basically computers running processes. And so you want to try to basically the problem is that doing things what's called on chain is expensive, and this is the same for all of the cryptocurrencies. Ethereum too. Ethereum has different methods of dealing with this problem, but basically because Ethereum wants to. Bitcoin is based on proof of work, which is mining, right? So when you hear Bitcoin mining, it's proof of work. Ethereum is trying to do proof of stake. They're not there yet. They're still proof of work, but their goal is to do proof of stake, which is a different process. People can look it up. I don't want to get into all the details, but Bitcoin is proof of work and going to stay proof of work. Bitcoin is never going to be proof of stake. But it's getting more expensive to do things on chain. And so for data trade transactions, for example, if you want to buy a coffee, that doesn't need to be done on chain. So the goal is to try to create a way to do it off chain. Right. And Lightning Network is that way. And so Lightning Network seems to be working really well, and it's growing, and it's scaling so that it can do many transactions per second for incredibly low fees.
So the Lightning Network is basically independent of the actual coin type.
No, it's not. Basically, how it works is you do a set of transactions off chain, and then you keep a separate off chain ledger, right? And then you settle those transactions on the chain. But you don't have to do each individual transaction on the chain.
But it's not just a Bitcoin feature. That's basically
different. Lightning Network is Bitcoin, but different
networks,
cryptocurrencies do different things. Right. Ethereum uses what's called gas.
Right. That's why I wanted to clarify that it's not just you can use that network for any type of currency. Just use it. Bitcoin has its own.
Lightning Network is for Bitcoin. Lightning Network is basically a method for doing off-chain transactions for Bitcoin. Basically.
Actually, what I'm reading now, PayPal is not just supporting Bitcoin, but it's also supporting Ethereum and Bitcoin Cash and Litecoin. So it's not just doing one, and which is going actually further or beyond what Square did a while ago with basically purchasing actually Bitcoin. So yeah, I mean, this actually I think gives more credibility or stability to the Bitcoin or to the crypto world when you have these major wallets, exchanges that are more expanded to adopt them. So I think that's one of the reasons why people may.
The truth is, you don't need PayPal. The only reason PayPal is acting as an intermediary here is because the majority of the world still transacts in fiat currencies, dollars, euros, whatever. Right. And so they're creating a convenient way to spend your Bitcoin without having to go to, like, for example, I have Bitcoin, and if I wanted to spend it, unless somebody accepts it, then I'd have to go somewhere, exchange it, and then use those dollars. Right. They're just making it seamless. But really, if everybody just accepts Bitcoin, I don't need PayPal. The whole idea of Bitcoin is you don't need middlemen.
PayPal is just acting like an exchange middle person, because PayPal is going to take your Bitcoin, convert it to dollars or whatever the currency is for the recipient, and then pay you in your currency. Right. Because you are Bitcoin to Bitcoin, again, like you said, you don't need PayPal.
The idea of Bitcoin is you don't need middlemen.
Right.
But for now, you will have middlemen.
It's not different than if I'm paying somebody in Europe and I pay in euros and I pay in dollars, PayPal converts to euros and then that person receives euros. So I understand how it's, but it's good that it's accepting Bitcoin as a currency, or Ethereum or Litecoin and all that, because it gives it more. When you have this, even banks, I mean, you remember, or investment institutions, when they start adopting crypto in general, currency and coins into their exchanges of their monetary system, that means that they give more credibility, which means that people start believing into this crypto more, and there's more demand, which increase the prices of the exchange prices, basically. So, all right, so that's all I wanted to discuss today. We have the presidential debate, the final one tonight. I think it's at 9 Eastern.
There's going to be a lot of minds changed tonight based on the debate.
What do you mean?
I'm saying that
you're being
sarcastically.
sarcastic. Yeah. No, I don't think.
I don't think.
Well, I'm
first of all, with all the early voting, a lot of
Yeah.
people have already voted. Second of all, I
they're
mean,
gonna recall their
I don't know.
votes.
I think people have their minds made up by now.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
know.
think.
I know. I mean, these debates are always for people.
one of them just has a heart attack in the middle of the stage.
No,
We'll
but I'm
see.
curious. I'm always curious about the technology. Like in this one, based on the catastrophe that was the first debate with everybody, Trump specifically jumping onto each other's lines and abusing the 2-minute limit and all that stuff. In this one, they say that they agreed to cut the mics, or they mute the mics when you go over your limit. So I'm very curious to see how this is gonna work, because I mean they still hear each other. The mics are obviously for the audience, but it's like if you and I are talking here and then all of a sudden you go over your time and I just cut your mic or whatever, you can still hear me.
Sometimes
Obviously.
I think you wish you could do that.
Yeah, no, you want to touch this. So they can still. I wonder if, obviously in this case it's more Trump, but I wonder if he's gonna stop just because the mic is muted, or he's gonna continue to point at Biden or something, or at the hostess. in this
Who's
case.
hosting it?
Kristen, I forgot her name. She's from NBC. She's the White House correspondent for Kristen Welker, I think is her name. She's the White House correspondent for NBC, who basically Trump already said that she's biased and blah, blah. You know, he had a terrible town hall meeting or question with Savannah Guthrie too with NBC. So I don't know. I mean, he's never going to be satisfied. But anyways, we'll see how it goes. Like I said, I mean, I don't think it's going to change people's minds. And then they decide the topics and all that stuff. But hour and a half, last debate of the pre-election, 3 weeks to go, I think. And we'll see how it goes. So any parting comments or anything before we go?
No, I think we covered everything.
Okay. Yeah, I'm very excited today. All right, guys. Well,
You
thank you
started
very
talking
much.
about politics, and I started zoning
Yeah, I
out.
know. I hear you. I know. It's just 2 more weeks, 3 more weeks, hopefully, and then we'll move on to something
Sometimes
else.
I feel like an alien because I saw someone say something that I thought was kind of ridiculous, but it got a lot of likes. So maybe people feel this way. They said, all I know is that either way, on November 3rd, I'll be crying. I'm not sure if there are going to be tears of joy or of sorrow, but I'll be crying. And it got a ton of likes.
Yeah, I know.
And I was like, okay. I don't think you should be so emotionally attached to politics, but
Yeah.
maybe I'm the weird one. I don't know.
I'll be relieved for sure. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to be November 3rd, 4th, 5th, or whatever. It's going to take a while to clear this up. But hopefully after that, we can turn the page, focus on the future, and then we haven't even talked pandemic for a while, so that's another story. But
It'll be over.
Yeah.
November 3rd, it'll just end.
yeah, it just disappear. So I'm looking forward to seeing how the holidays shape up for us. So, all right, guys. Well, thanks for listening. We'll be back next week. And if you like any section of this episode, except for the things that he said, just follow us on YouTube or whatever you listen to your podcast. And have a great weekend. Bye-bye.